Welcome to Western Perspective, I'm Luke Derrick. After 6 years of construction, Perth's airport railway has finally opened to the public today. For Western Australia, it's a historic fanfare celebrating our first passenger railway linking the airport. Travelling underground by rail is certainly a new experience for many Western Australians. We've talked to some special guests about their first-hand taste of the trip.
And how come you're at this Metronet opening?
One word, a fan.
So did you win the lottery, or can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I just entered the competition as it was promoted on their website, and just filled in like any person would, and luck of the Irish, I was a winner.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you're holding here today?
This is my Lego version of the B-Series Transperth train, just a pet project of mine.
And so what do you think that Metronet, particularly the airport line, is going to bring to Perth?
Lots of tourism, especially boosting the economy as well. It's just going to help a lot of people, mostly FIFO workers and a lot of interest people.
And have you enjoyed the opening, particularly seeing the Prime Minister and ministers?
Yeah, even the PM was a bit of a surprise. Yes, I'm enjoying the facilities and the events happening right now. Yes.
How did you find the trip?
Enjoyable, but a bit featureless because it is under a tunnel.
Particularly the blackout was a bit nerve-wracking.
Oh, I yelled out, "Woo!" when that happened.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and good luck with the journey back.
My pleasure.
Tell me a little bit about your involvement with the Metronet project.
Well, as you probably know, we started this project back in 2016. We were selected and awarded the contract in April 2016, and it has been a very interesting, challenging journey and successful one. As today we have the grand opening of the rail line.
What has been the biggest challenge?
Well, there have been several of different nature. The geology of the terrain is quite challenging. It is all excavated in sand, and consider that we have excavated underground under the Swan River and under the Perth airport without stopping its operation even for 1 minute. So a lot of technical challenges, but also in 2020 and 2021 the COVID and the crisis of the supply chain consequent to the Ukrainian war. So, but we were able to overcome this challenging together with our client and with our stakeholders. Did
you meet the deadline that you'd originally had, or did COVID delay that?
Well, there have been impacts from COVID. As you know, the supply chain was delayed very well, but also the possibility to have resources not only internationally but also interstate. So I think that even if there was an impact, it was manageable and managed. That's why today we are celebrating the opening.
And what do you think is the best thing about the Metronet connection now?
Well, the possibility to go and reach the airport from all various parts of Perth with a very fast and comfortable ride, as you have experienced today, as well as with a fare that is quite competitive according to what the Minister said today.
And how have you found working in Western Australia? How have your dealings been with the government?
The relationship with our client has been very constructive and proactive. We have collaborated together to achieve this result today, and I have to say it has been a good experience.
And is there anything you'd like to add that you don't think I've covered?
Well, I think that you have covered most of it. I think it's important that we have been able to deliver a very sustainable piece of infrastructure with a lot of innovations introduced in the design of it and in the delivery. But at the same time, it was a good opportunity for people upskilling. When we arrived here, there was no recent experience of building a tunnel using tunnel boring machines, and instead now we leave the project, we finished the project with a lot of people that now can do this and can be redeployed in other projects with similar characteristics.
And now, here is AMA WA spokesman Dr. Andrew Miller with his weekly COVID-19 update and medical commentary.
Hi, thanks for your time. As we head into spring in Australia properly and they're going into autumn in Europe, we're seeing Germany and France starting to resurge with their COVID cases. Other countries we're not so sure because, like Australia, there's not an awful lot of testing going on these days, so you have to wait for downstream problems like hospitalisations and deaths to understand exactly what's happening. But it's pretty clear that the Northern Hemisphere is starting to head into the 8th wave of COVID now. What's driving it? Not one particular variant, but exactly what the evolutionary virologists predicted, which is that there's a whole bunch of different ones now competing, and the way that they compete is to evade immunity from infection and from vaccination and go around the outside of that. It also means that some of our treatments, things like the injectables that we might use for very sick people, are not working the way that we would want them to. So that's creates another problem, and the need for new solutions in terms of therapeutics for people who are immune suppressed particularly. So what are we seeing in Australia? We haven't got a surge happening just yet. We do, however, just understand that the figures for excess deaths have come in, and for the first half of 2022, there's about 16% more people dying than we would expect in that time frame, and about half of that is directly due to COVID, and the other half comes from the other kinds of diseases that we know that COVID can contribute and exacerbate down the track. So things like dementia, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, all of these things that we know can be complications, particularly of long COVID, have also gone up, adding to a total of about 16% excess deaths, about 11,200 more deaths than would normally be expected in the first half of 2022. And that is not just because there were short lockdowns and then longer term travel bans around the country. That is excess of all of those sorts of delayed deaths, if you like. So COVID very much still in play, no matter what the politicians would like to have us believe. It's not a respiratory disease, as keeps being referred to, being treated just like any other respiratory disease. It's a multi-organ disease that causes inflammation of the blood vessels. So what can you do to protect yourselves going forward? Well, only about 70% of the population at the moment are up to date with all of their COVID vaccines. So if you're entitled to a booster at this stage and you haven't had it, then you should certainly go out and get it. And when a new one becomes available, you should have that, remembering that these vaccinations, we never expected that they would prevent the spread of disease. We always expected, though, and hoped that they would reduce severe disease and death. And that's what we're aiming for, because right now, COVID is about to become the third most common cause of death in Australia. So we're still very much dealing with a pandemic, but it's one that the government now wants to kind of push back onto the people to manage. So if you imagine they took away the fire service and you had to then start thinking about, well, how am I going to stop my own house from burning down? Obviously, it's vaccination, masks, breathing clean air, avoiding crowded indoor spaces, particularly when it becomes obvious that this 8th wave has hit Australia, which, with no travel restriction whatsoever, not even any testing in place, it's inevitable that we'll soon see, with the number of thousands of people travelling in and out of the country every day, a renewed surge. But the good news is we have the tools to deal with it if we're sensible about it. Thanks for your time.
And that's Western Perspective for this week. We'll be back again next time, but for now, back to you, Ivan and Melly.
Thanks, Luke. And now, here's Leo with what's coming up on 6 News tonight.
Thanks, guys. And on 6 News exclusive, the Vic Greens leader responds to claims that her party is rife with transphobic views. Samantha Ratnam facing questions about whether they can regain their lost seats from 2018. Also, should they stay or should they go? The government under pressure over stage 3 tax cuts after repeatedly saying they are not changing their position. And tensions in Russia and Ukraine continue. Why international law means Australia doesn't have nukes, but other countries do. You can see full details on those stories and plenty more by heading to our YouTube channel. Just search 6NewsAU to find us, or head to our website, 6newsau.com. For now, though, guys, it's back to you.
Thanks, Leo, and that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WAMN Extra News Club so we can continue our work in the community. Full details on wamnnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly and myself, we wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.
News.